أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق أجمعين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. This is the first presentation about life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, say, travel over the land and observe how He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has originated the creation. According to many tafsir books, this is related to the creation of life. But what is life? What defines a living thing? Life is a great mystery, and no one has ever been able to fully understand it. In high school, when we study biology, the focus is on the chemical composition and reactions in the body. But is that life? What about interactions, feelings, learning, and consciousness? What about love, memories, and curiosity? In biology, we learn that the cell is the most basic unit of life. I studied the idea that all living things started from a common ancestor, and it all started from a single cell. 150 years ago, the cell could only be examined under a microscope. Scientists saw a tiny circle and they assumed that it was like a sack of jelly. Based on their perspective of the cell, they imagined it to be very simple and anticipated that the cell had developed spontaneously by chance. Somehow, atoms got arranged and gave rise to a cell with all the features necessary for it to live, to find food, to reproduce, and have a defense mechanism, and on and on and on. Afterwards, by a blind coincidence, a cell evolved. This simple cell eventually, blindly, spontaneously, and accidentally gave rise to plants, animals, and humans. Well, that was 2 centuries ago. More recently, science and technology made tremendous advancements in the field of biology and biochemistry. We now know that the cell is much more sophisticated and complex than anyone imagined before. If you think that a living cell is simple, you would be very, very wrong. A living cell is more efficient than any factory or a machine ever built by a human on Earth. And to think that it came randomly is nonsense. In the last few decades, many scientists started to turn away from the idea that the cell came into being by accident. Many scientists have realized that it is impossible for life to evolve by random chances. Every cell has organelles and parts that work in harmony. For example, each cell has millions of proteins, and each single protein requires DNA, genetic codes, and thousands of molecules and enzymes to make. If we calculate it, it is mathematically impossible for a cell to come into existence by itself from random chemicals. So why are we still learning in school about the cell and how it came into being by accident? Let's take a break. We will be right back. Welcome back. There are 2 main reasons for so many scientists to support the idea of accidental life. Not because it can be scientifically proven, but first, because they don't have an alternative theory. And the second is because it denies the idea of God. Sir Francis Crick, one of the scientists who discovered the DNA molecules, he was awarded the 1962 Nobel Prize in Medicine for discovering the DNA. He describes the origin of life as almost a miracle. And but then after he suggested that it was when he said it's a miracle, he suggested that life maybe originated on a different planet, because he didn't want to accept the idea of a creator. We Muslims believe that life is purposely and intelligently designed, and we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of all life forms. Let's go back to the Quran. In Surah An-Nur, the light chapter, verse number 45, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاللَّهُ خَلَقَ كُلَّ دَابَّةٍ مِّن مَّاءٍ, meaning, and Allah has created every animal or every moving creature from water. And the same notion is repeated in Surah Al-Anbiya, in the prophets, verse number 30. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, meaning, and we made from water every living thing. Will they not then believe? Tafsir al-Amthal mentions two meanings for this ayah. And both of these meanings or explanations are in agreement with the latest scientific findings. One meaning is that the first element of life came from water, and life thrived in water. The second meaning is that water is the main component in every living creature. Life cannot continue without water. The Quran claims that every life form needs water. This claim was made in the Quran 1400 years ago. Now, is it possible to find a mistake in this verse? Can you find one living thing that does not require water to live? It is estimated that there are millions of species on Earth. Most species have billions of individuals, and every single one of them has water as a main component in their physical formation. They all need water to survive, and their bodies are made of water as a main component. This verse is one of the scientific miracles of the Quran. Let's take another short break. We'll be right back. Let's continue. In another verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala challenges people to create a simple living thing such as a fly. In Surah Al-Hajj, the pilgrimage chapter, verse number 73, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, يا أيها الناس ضرب مثل فاستمعوا له إن الذين تدعون من دون الله لن يخلقوا ذبابا ولو اجتمعوا له. Meaning, O mankind, an example is set forth for you. So listen to it. Indeed, those whom you call besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never create a fly, even if they all met together for that purpose. For decades now, so many scientists have been trying to copy a single cell, let alone a fly. But they cannot give it life. They know all the composition, they know all the chemical composition of the cell. Yet, they cannot bring it to life, because life is only given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another example was given in the Quran that is of a mosquito. At the early years of Islam, some people heard about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam giving examples of small creatures in the Quran, such as flies and spiders. They mocked the Prophet and criticized him for talking about such small creatures. They didn't know that these little insects have extremely complex structures. So to emphasize this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed another example in the Quran. This time, the example of a mosquito. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, إن الله لا يستحيي أن يضرب مثلا ما بعوضة فما فوقها فأما الذين آمنوا فيعلمون أنه الحق من ربهم وأما الذين كفروا فيقولون ماذا أراد الله بهذا مثلا. Meaning, God is not reluctant to set forth an example of a mosquito or anything above it. As for those who believe, they know that it is the truth from their Lord. As for those who disbelieve, they say, what does God want with this example? While people at that time mocked the example of a mosquito, in the last few decades, we found that this little insect is truly amazing. The life journey of a mosquito starts as an egg. A mosquito egg can survive for up to 5 years waiting for a suitable environment before it hatches. Then it turns into a larva, then a pupa, and finally an adult, which is the bloodsucker that we see. A mosquito has hundreds of lenses on each eye. It has 3 hearts. It beats its wings 500 times per second. They can sense carbon dioxide from people and animals from 25 meters away. Mosquitoes are able to drink 3 times their own body weight in blood. There are about 3,000 species of mosquitoes around the world. Not all of them bite humans, but mosquitoes are the deadliest creatures on earth because they transmit diseases. There is no shortage of complexity in this insect, which many people assumed it was very simple. That is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here are my references for this presentation. Al-Amthal, National Geographic, lectures of Dr. Michael Behe and Sir Francis Crick from his book Life Itself, Its Origin and Nature. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.